A desperate call from a collapsing bridge. A CEO who answers the wrong number. Two children moments from falling into the abyss. When Benjamin Cole races across the city with 10 luxury cars, he expects to find anyone but the woman waiting inside that crumbling house. Sometimes the greatest rescue isn't the one you plan. Sometimes it's the one that saves you. Or we begin this story of justice and redemption. Type Amen in the comments and tell us which country you're watching from. The rain started as a whisper. Madison Harper felt the first drops hit her pink jacket, just as she adjusted her grip on the plastic bag. Inside were 3-day-old bread rolls from the bakery dumpster, 2 bruised apples and half a sandwich someone had left on a park bench. Not much, but it was dinner. It had to be. Her little brother Tyler sat in the worn stroller, his red jacket zipped up to his chin. At 18 months old, he didn't understand why they walked 2 miles every afternoon to collect food. He didn't know that their mother worked 16-hour shifts at the textile factory just to keep the lights on. He only knew that his big sister always came back for him, always pushed his stroller home, always sang to him when the wheels rattled over rough ground. Madison was 8 years old, but she had learned to navigate the world like someone much older. The bridge stretched ahead of them, the same bridge they crossed every day. It was old, wooden, forgotten by everyone except the families who lived on this side of the ravine. The city had promised to repair it 5 years ago, but promises didn't mean much in neighborhoods like theirs. Madison pushed the stroller onto the first plank. It creaked as it always did. She was halfway across when the rain intensified. The drops became a downpour in seconds, turning the worn wood slick and dark. Madison tightened her grip on the stroller handle, her sneakers sliding slightly with each step. The ravine below gaped like an open mouth, 50 feet of empty air down to rocks and rushing water. "It's okay, Ty," she said, forcing brightness into her voice. "We're almost home." Then she heard it. A crack, low and deep like a tree splitting in a storm. Madison froze. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she looked down. The plank beneath her right foot had split down the middle, a jagged line appearing as she watched. Another crack echoed from somewhere behind her, then another from ahead. The bridge was collapsing. Terror locked her muscles for one precious second. Then instinct took over. She yanked the phone from her jacket pocket, the old flip phone her mother had given her for emergencies. Her hands shook so badly she almost dropped it. The wood groaned again, louder this time. She could feel it shifting beneath her feet. She flipped the phone open and stabbed at the numbers, her vision blurring with rain and tears. 911. Her finger slipped. She hit call anyway, not realizing she'd pressed the wrong button, that instead of emergency services she'd dialed the last number in the recent calls list, a number her mother had saved weeks ago after finding a business card in a coffee shop, thinking maybe, somehow, there might be work there. The phone rang once, twice. Another crack split the air. Tyler started to cry. "Come on, come on, come on," Madison whispered. On the third ring, someone answered. "Cole." The voice was sharp, male, impatient. Background noise suggested an office, voices, the hum of expensive air conditioning. "We're trapped on a bridge," Madison gasped. "We're going to fall." Silence. Then the voice changed completely. The impatience vanished, replaced by something focused and fierce. "Where are you?" "The old bridge, the wooden one by Riverside," Madison said, her words tumbling over each other. "It's breaking. The rain, it's all breaking. We're going to fall. Please." "How many of you?" "Me and my baby brother, please. Please help us." "Stay absolutely still, don't move, I'm coming." The line didn't disconnect. She could hear him shouting orders to someone, the slam of a door, the sound of running footsteps. "What's your name?" His voice came back, steady and calm. "Madison. Madison Harper." "Madison, I'm Benjamin. I need you to listen to me very carefully. Do not move toward either end of the bridge. Stay exactly where you are. Do you understand?" "Yes." Her voice was tiny. "How old are you, Madison?" 8. She heard his breath catch just slightly. When he spoke again, his voice was gentler but no less urgent. "You're very brave. Keep talking to me. Tell me about your brother." His name is Tyler. He's won. He's scared. I know. But you're there with him and that makes him safe. I'm in my car now. I'm maybe 6 minutes away. Can you hold on for 6 minutes? Madison looked down at the planks. Another crack appeared, this one so close to the stroller that she let out a small cry. I don't know, she whispered. Yes, you do. You called for help. That was smart. That was so smart, Madison. Now you just have to hold on a little longer. She heard the roar of an engine through the phone, the blast of a horn. I'm bringing help, Benjamin said. A lot of help. When you see the cars, don't be scared. We're coming to get you out. Okay. Is the bridge shaking? Yes. Are you holding onto the stroller? Yes. Good. Keep holding on. Keep talking to me. What color is your jacket? Pink. I'm going to look for a little girl in a pink jacket. And when I find you, Madison, I promise you, I'm going to get you and Tyler home safely. The bridge shuddered. Madison felt it drop just an inch, but enough to make her stomach lurch. Tyler's crying intensified, his small hands reaching up toward her. It's moving, she said, fighting to keep the panic from her voice. Mr. Benjamin, it's moving. I know, I'm almost there. 30 seconds. Can you see the road from where you are? She turned her head carefully, looking toward the far end of the bridge. Through the rain, she could just make out the cracked pavement of Riverside Road. Yes. Keep watching. You're going to see me very soon. 20 seconds passed. Each one felt like an hour. Then she saw them. Cars. Expensive cars. The kind she'd only seen in magazines. They came around the corner like a fleet, sleek and dark and moving fast. 10 of them, maybe more. They skidded to a stop at the bridge entrance and doors flew open. Men poured out. Dozens of them, all wearing suits despite the rain. And at the front, running faster than the others, was a man with dark hair and a navy coat, a phone pressed to his ear. I see you, Benjamin said. The pink jacket. I've got you, Madison. Just a little longer. He was shouting orders. The men scattered, some running to the bridge supports, others pulling equipment from the cars. Madison watched in stunned silence as they moved with military precision, every action coordinated, every second counted. Benjamin reached the bridge entrance and stopped, assessing the damage with quick, sharp eyes. Madison, here's what's going to happen, he said, his voice absolutely steady. 2 of my men are going to come out onto the bridge. They're going to move very slowly and very carefully. When they reach you, one is going to take Tyler and the other is going to help you walk back. Do you trust me? Yes. Good girl. 2 men stepped onto the bridge. They were young, strong, moving with the careful balance of people who understood exactly how fragile the structure was. The bridge creaked under their weight, but they didn't hesitate. It took them 45 seconds to reach her. To Madison, it felt like 45 hours. The first man, tall with kind eyes, smiled at her. Hey there, Madison. I'm James. This is Connor. We're going to get you out of here, okay? She nodded, not trusting her voice. Connor moved to the stroller, unbuckling Tyler with practiced ease. Tyler grabbed onto him immediately, burying his face in Connor's shoulder. James offered Madison his hand. Hold on tight. We're going to walk together, nice and slow. Can you do that? Yes. His hand was warm and solid. She gripped it like a lifeline. They started moving. Each step was deliberate, tested, careful. The bridge groaned beneath them, protesting their movement. Madison kept her eyes fixed on Benjamin, who stood at the entrance with his phone still in his hand, watching every step they took. Halfway back, the bridge gave another ominous shudder. Keep moving, Benjamin called. You're doing great. Almost there. 10 more steps, 5, 3. James swept Madison up in his arms for the final few feet, lifting her off the bridge just as another crack split the air behind them. Connor was right behind him, Tyler clutched safely against his chest. The moment Madison's feet touched solid ground, Benjamin was there. He knelt down, bringing himself to her eye level. Up close, she could see the intensity in his dark eyes, the rain streaming down his face, the absolute focus he had on her. Are you hurt? He asked. She shook her head. Your brother? He's okay. Benjamin exhaled, a long breath that seemed to take all the tension out of his shoulders. You did so well, Madison. So incredibly well. Behind them, there was a tremendous crack. They all turned in time to see the center of the bridge collapse, the old wood giving way and tumbling down into the ravine. If they had been there even 30 seconds later, Madison started shaking. The shock hit her all at once, her legs going weak. Benjamin caught her before she could fall, his arms steadying her. I've got you, he said quietly. You're safe now. One of the other men approached, holding a blanket. Benjamin wrapped it around Madison's shoulders, then took Tyler from Connor and wrapped him in a second blanket. The little boy had stopped crying, exhausted and confused, his thumb in his mouth. Where do you live? Benjamin asked. Madison pointed down the road, toward the cluster of small houses barely visible through the rain. The one with the blue door. Number 17. All right, let's get you home. He stood, still holding Tyler, and offered his free hand to Madison. She took it without hesitation. Together they walked toward the cars, Madison's small hand completely enveloped in his. The other men had already started packing up, moving with the same efficiency they'd shown earlier. Benjamin led Madison to the largest car, a black vehicle that looked like it cost more than her entire house. He opened the back door and helped her inside, then buckled Tyler into a car seat that appeared from somewhere. How did you have a car seat? Madison asked, her voice small. Benjamin smiled slightly. I called ahead, told them what we needed. He slid into the seat beside her as the driver pulled away from the bridge. The other cars followed, the entire convoy moving down the narrow road toward the small houses. It took less than 2 minutes to reach number 17. The house was tiny, with peeling paint and a sagging porch. But the blue door was bright, recently painted, and there were flower boxes in the windows even though nothing was blooming this late in the year. Benjamin helped Madison out of the car, still carrying Tyler. As they approached the porch, the blue door flew open. A woman stood there, young and exhausted, wearing a factory uniform with her name tag still pinned to her chest. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, her face drawn with fatigue. But her eyes were fierce, protective, searching for her children. Maddie? Tyler? Her voice cracked. Mom. Madison ran forward, throwing herself into her mother's arms. The woman dropped to her knees, clutching Madison, her hands checking for injuries even as relief flooded her face. Then she looked up, seeing Tyler in Benjamin's arms, seeing the convoy of luxury cars filling the narrow street. Benjamin stepped forward, carefully transferring Tyler into his mother's arms. They're both safe, he said. Not hurt, just scared. The woman stood slowly, both children clinging to her now, her eyes moving from Benjamin to the cars to the men in expensive suits standing in the rain. Confusion and wariness flickered across her face. Who are you? She asked. Benjamin opened his mouth to answer, and then he really looked at her. His world stopped. The rain, the cars, the men, Madison and Tyler, all of it faded into background noise as every thought in his head derailed completely. He knew this face. He hadn't seen it in 10 years, but he knew it. The same hazel eyes, the same defiant chin, the same way she held herself even when exhausted. Older now, worn down by life in a way that made his chest hurt, but unmistakable. Olivia? His voice came out rough, disbelieving. The woman froze. The color drained from her face. Benjamin, she whispered. And then softer, like the word was being torn from her. No. Benjamin couldn't move. 10 years. 10 years since he'd last seen Olivia Hayes, since that final morning when she'd stood in his dorm room and told him they were done, that she couldn't do this anymore, that she was leaving and he shouldn't look for her. He'd been 22, arrogant and ambitious, already planning his empire. She'd been 21, brilliant and fierce, the only person who'd ever matched him argument for argument, dream for dream. They'd been going to build something together, combine their talents, take on the world, and then she'd vanished. He'd tried to find her, for months he'd tried. But Olivia had wanted to disappear, and when Olivia wanted something, she made it happen. Eventually, he'd thrown himself into his work, built his company into the powerhouse it was now, and tried not to think about the one person who'd walked away. Now here she stood, wearing a factory uniform, holding two children. Two children. His eyes dropped to Madison, to Tyler, his mind racing through calculations. Madison was 8. Tyler was 1. If Olivia had gotten pregnant right after leaving. Mom? Madison's voice broke through the shock. She was looking between them, confused by the tension suddenly filling the air. Do you know him? Olivia's arms tightened around her children. When she spoke, her voice was careful, controlled. We knew each other. A long time ago. She looked at Benjamin, and he saw the silent plea in her eyes. Not now. Not in front of them. He managed a nod, though his thoughts were still spinning. The bridge collapsed, he said, forcing himself back to the immediate situation. Madison called me. I happened to be nearby. It wasn't quite a lie. His company's newest development project was only 3 miles away. But nearby didn't explain the 10 luxury cars or the dozens of employees he'd pulled away from a critical meeting. Olivia's gaze moved past him to the convoy, and he saw understanding dawn in her eyes. You did this. All of this. It wasn't a question. Yes. She looked back at him, and there was something in her expression he couldn't quite read. Gratitude, yes, but also fear, and underneath it all, a bone-deep exhaustion that made him want to demand answers to questions he had no right to ask. Thank you, she said quietly, for saving them. The formality in her voice cut deeper than any anger could have. Madison tugged on her mother's sleeve. The bridge is gone, Mom. How am I going to get to Mrs. Peterson's after school? We'll figure something out, baby. Olivia's hand smoothed over Madison's wet hair. Let's get you both inside. You need to get warm. She started to turn toward the house, clearly intending to disappear again, to close that blue door and shut him out. Benjamin spoke before he could think better of it. Wait. Olivia stopped but didn't turn around. That bridge, he said. You cross it every day? Madison does. Olivia's shoulders tensed. On her way to and from Mrs. Peterson's house. She watches Tyler while I'm at work. Alone, she's 8 years old. Now Olivia did turn, and the look she gave him was sharp enough to cut. I'm aware of how old my daughter is, and I'm aware that she shouldn't be walking alone. But Mrs. Peterson lives on the other side of the ravine, and she's the only person who will watch Tyler for what I can afford to pay. So yes, Madison walks alone. We do what we have to do. The words hit him like a physical blow. This was Olivia Hayes, who'd graduated top of her class, who'd had job offers from 3 different Fortune 500 companies before she'd even finished her degree. Olivia, who'd argued economic theory with professors and won, who'd been destined for boardrooms and corner offices. Now she was working in a factory and couldn't afford childcare. What happened? The question came out before he could stop it. Life happened. Her voice was flat. Thank you again for helping my children, but I think you should go. Olivia, please. There was something in that single word, a brittleness that suggested she was holding herself together by sheer will. Behind her, Madison was watching with wide eyes, and Tyler was starting to fuss. Benjamin swallowed every question burning in his throat. All right. He turned to Madison, crouching down again. You were very brave today. I'm proud of you. She managed a small smile. Thank you for coming. Always. He meant it. If you ever need help again, you call that number, okay? The one you called today, anytime. Madison nodded solemnly. Benjamin straightened and looked at Olivia one more time. She wouldn't meet his eyes. He walked back to his car, every step feeling wrong. His driver opened the door and he slid inside, his mind already racing. Back to the office, sir? The driver asked. No. Benjamin pulled out his phone. Take me to the development site, the Riverside project. As the convoy pulled away, he looked back at the small house with the blue door. Olivia had already gone inside, the door shut firmly. But he could see her silhouette in the window, standing still watching the cars disappear. His phone buzzed. James, his head of security, calling from one of the other vehicles. "Sir, we've got the preliminary report on the bridge. Structural failure due to years of deferred maintenance. The city's been ignoring safety complaints from residents for at least 5 years." "Send me everything," Benjamin said. "Every complaint, every ignored inspection report, every piece of documentation you can find." "Already on it." "But sir, if I may, what was that? Who was that woman?" Benjamin was quiet for a long moment. "Someone I used to know," he said finally. "A long time ago." He ended the call and stared out the window as they drove past the ravine. The bridge was completely gone now, collapsed into the chasm. He could see the other neighborhood on the far side, more small houses, more families trapped without a crossing. His phone buzzed again. This time it was Connor, his executive assistant. "The team's asking if we're rescheduling the Anderson meeting. We were in the middle of the presentation when you left." Benjamin had forgotten all about Richard Anderson and his multi-million-dollar investment offer. "Cancel it." "Sir, cancel it. Send our apologies and tell him we'll reschedule." "But that deal has been 6 months in the making." "Connor, a child called me because she thought she was going to die. Richard Anderson can wait." There was a pause. "Understood, sir. Anything else you need?" Benjamin looked back at the house now disappearing in the distance. "Yes. I want you to pull every piece of information you can find on Olivia Hayes, employment records, financial history, anything public, and I want it quietly. Of course. Should I ask what this is regarding?" "No." He ended the call and leaned back in his seat, his mind churning. "Olivia. Here. With children." The daughter looked nothing like him. Madison had blonde hair and blue eyes, delicate features that must have come from her father. But Tyler. Benjamin shut down that line of thinking immediately. He was being ridiculous. The timing was wrong, the circumstances were wrong, everything was wrong. But the way Olivia had looked at him, the fear in her eyes, the desperate plea to leave. His phone rang a third time. He almost ignored it, but then saw his mother's name on the screen. If he didn't answer, she'd just keep calling. "Mother." "Benjamin, where are you? I've been trying to reach you for an hour. We have the gallery opening tonight, and you promised you'd—" "I can't make it." Silence. His mother, Catherine Cole, was not accustomed to being told no. "I beg your pardon? Something came up, an emergency." What kind of emergency could possibly be more important than the Sinclair Gallery opening? "Victoria will be there, Benjamin. I told her you'd be her escort." Victoria, his mother's latest choice for his future wife. Beautiful, connected, perfectly appropriate for a man of his status. Also mind-numbingly boring, but his mother didn't consider that relevant. "Victoria will survive without me," Benjamin said, "and I don't recall agreeing to escort her." "You agreed to attend, which amounts to the same thing. Benjamin, you can't keep avoiding this. You're 33 years old. It's time to settle down, start building a proper legacy. Victoria comes from an excellent family. Mother, I need to go." "Benjamin Cole, don't you dare hang up on—" He hung up. The car was pulling up to the Riverside development site now. A massive project that would transform the area. Luxury condos, high-end retail, a business center. His company had invested millions. The site was just 3 miles from Olivia's house. Benjamin got out of the car, ignoring the rain, and walked to the edge of the property. From here, he could see the ravine, the gap where the bridge had been, the neighborhoods on either side. His development project manager, a competent man named Marcus, hurried over with an umbrella. "Mr. Cole, we weren't expecting you today." "Walk with me," Benjamin said. "Tell me about the infrastructure plans for this site." Marcus launched into the details. Roads, water, electricity, sewage. All of it designed to support the new development. "What about the existing neighborhood?" Benjamin interrupted. "The residents who are already here." Marcus hesitated. "Sir, that wasn't part of our scope. The development is self-contained." "I'm aware of what the plan was. I'm asking about what it should be." He could see Marcus scrambling to adjust. "We could look into infrastructure improvements for the surrounding area. It would increase costs, of course, but it might be good for community relations." Do it, Benjamin said. And I want a new bridge. A proper one, steel and concrete, designed to handle heavy traffic. I want it to connect both sides of the ravine. A bridge? Sir, that would be a significant expense, and it's not really our responsibility. I don't recall asking if it was our responsibility. I'm telling you to build it. Marcus made a note, his expression carefully neutral. Of course. Anything else? Benjamin looked toward the neighborhood, toward the house with the blue door that he couldn't see from here but knew was there. Yes, I want a community center, something with after-school programs, childcare services, job training, work with local organizations to staff it properly. That would be quite an undertaking. We have the resources. Use them. He could see Marcus doing mental calculations, probably trying to figure out how to explain this to the board of directors. Benjamin's company was profitable, successful, but these additions would cut significantly into the project's margins. Benjamin didn't care. One more thing, he said. I want a list of all businesses in the area, factories, warehouses, any significant employers. May I ask why? No. Marcus wisely didn't push. I'll have that for you by tomorrow morning. Tonight. I want it tonight. Yes, sir. Benjamin dismissed him and stood alone in the rain, looking at the space where a bridge should be. He'd spent 10 years building an empire. 10 years focused on nothing but success, growth, profit. He'd convinced himself that was enough, that work could fill the hollow space Olivia had left behind. Now she was back, and she was struggling, and every protective instinct he'd thought he'd buried was roaring back to life. His phone buzzed with a message from Connor, a brief file on Olivia Hayes. Benjamin opened it, his jaw tightening with each line he read. She'd finished her degree, top of her class as expected. Then, nothing, no corporate job, no prestigious career. Instead, she'd worked a series of low-wage positions, retail, food service, cleaning. For the past 2 years, she'd been at Mitchell Textile Factory night shift supervisor. No mention of a husband. No mention of Madison's father. Madison Harper. Different last name. Tyler's last name wasn't listed, but he'd bet it was Harper too. Benjamin's mind was racing through possibilities, none of them good. His phone rang. James again. Sir, I've got something you should see. About the bridge complaints. Go ahead. There were complaints filed with the city every 6 months for the past 5 years, all of them signed by the same person. Benjamin's stomach tightened. Who? Olivia Hayes. Of course it was. Of course Olivia had been fighting to get the bridge fixed, to keep her daughter safe. Of course she'd been filing complaints, demanding action, doing everything right. And of course, she'd been ignored. Sir, there's more. I did some digging into the city council members responsible for infrastructure in that district. Want to guess who's been blocking the repair funds? Enlighten me. Council member Richard Thornton. And before you ask, yes, that's the same Thornton who's been trying to get us to support his re-election campaign. Benjamin's hand tightened on the phone. Send me everything you have on Thornton. Every donation he's received, every vote he's cast, every connection he has. I want to know who owns him. Already compiling it. Sir, if you're thinking what I think you're thinking, I'm thinking that a man who's willing to let children risk their lives every day to cross a failing bridge because he'd rather pocket the repair funds doesn't deserve to be in office. Understood. I'll have the file to you within the hour. Benjamin ended the call and looked back toward the neighborhood one more time. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. Olivia could close her door, could ask him to leave, could try to shut him out of whatever was happening in her life. But she'd filed those complaints, she'd fought for that bridge. She'd been trying to protect her daughter and every other child who used that crossing. And now Benjamin had the resources to actually do something about it. He pulled out his phone and dialed his legal team. This is Cole. I need you to draft a proposal for the city council. We're donating a bridge to the Riverside district. Full construction, engineering, safety inspections, everything. And I want it fast-tracked. I want that bridge operational within 3 months. 3 months? Sir, that's incredibly ambitious. Then I suggest you work ambitiously and make it very clear in the proposal that this is a one-time offer. If they don't accept within 48 hours, we withdraw it permanently. They'll accept. No city turns down free infrastructure. Good. Send me the draft tonight. He hung up and finally headed back to his car, his mind still on the small house with the blue door. Olivia had made it clear she didn't want him involved in her life, but he'd just saved her daughter from falling off a bridge. That gave him certain privileges, whether she liked it or not. And if she thought he was going to walk away now, after seeing her like this, after knowing she was struggling. She didn't know him as well as she thought she did. The Benjamin she'd known 10 years ago might have respected her boundaries, might have taken the hint and left. But he wasn't that person anymore. He'd built an empire. He'd learned to be ruthless when necessary, strategic when it mattered, and absolutely relentless when something important was at stake. And Olivia Hayes, whether she admitted it or not, was important. She always had been. Olivia didn't sleep that night. How could she? Benjamin Cole was back in her life, impossibly, catastrophically back, and he'd saved her daughter. She sat at the kitchen table after putting the children to bed, her hands wrapped around a mug of tea she wasn't drinking, staring at nothing. The last time she'd seen Benjamin, he'd been 22 years old, brilliant, and burning with ambition, already talking about the company he was going to build. They'd been inseparable for 2 years, partners in every sense of the word. Then she'd found out she was pregnant. She'd tried to tell him. She'd practiced the words 100 times, standing in front of the mirror in their shared apartment. But every time she opened her mouth, she saw his dreams, his plans, his absolute certainty about the future he was building. A future that didn't include a baby at 22. So she'd made the choice for both of them. She'd told him they were done, packed her things, and disappeared. It had been the hardest thing she'd ever done, but she'd been certain it was right. She'd had Madison. Beautiful, perfect Madison with her father's intelligence and determination. Olivia had finished her degree while working 2 jobs, had graduated with honors despite everything. Then the job offers had dried up. Single mother, no connections, no support system. The companies that had recruited her when she was child-free suddenly found reasons to hire someone else. She'd taken whatever work she could find, and she'd kept moving, kept fighting, kept making sure Madison had everything she needed. Then, 6 years later, she'd met Marcus Harper at the diner where she was waitressing. He'd been kind, steady, nothing like the intensity of Benjamin, but that had felt like a relief. He'd known about Madison, said he didn't mind. They'd gotten married after dating for 6 months. For a while, Olivia had let herself believe in fresh starts. Then she'd gotten pregnant with Tyler. And Marcus had left 3 weeks after Tyler was born, unable to handle the reality of 2 children, the financial pressure, the exhaustion. He'd signed away his parental rights and vanished. Now here she was, 31 years old, working the night shift at a textile factory, raising 2 children alone in a house that was falling apart. And Benjamin Cole had walked back into her life with 10 luxury cars and the power to save her daughter with a single phone call. The disparity between their lives was so vast it made her want to laugh or cry. She wasn't sure which. A knock on the door made her jump. It was past midnight. Nobody knocked on her door this late. Olivia approached cautiously, peering through the peephole. A woman stood on her porch, professional, well-dressed, holding a folder and an umbrella despite the rain having stopped hours ago. Olivia opened the door a crack, keeping the chain latched. "Can I help you?" "Ms. Hayes, I'm Sarah Mitchell from Cole Development. I apologize for the late hour. Mr. Cole asked me to deliver this to you personally." Olivia's stomach dropped. "I don't want anything from Mr. Cole. I understand, but I think you'll want to see this." Sarah held up the folder. "It's about the bridge." Against her better judgment, Olivia unlatched the chain and took the folder. Inside was a formal proposal. Cole Development was donating a new bridge to the city, fully funded, designed to replace the collapsed structure. Construction would begin within 2 weeks. Estimated completion time, 10 weeks. Olivia stared at the numbers, the cost estimates, the engineering specifications. This wasn't a simple replacement. This was a state-of-the-art pedestrian bridge with covered walkways, LED lighting, security cameras, and emergency call boxes. This was millions of dollars. "He can't do this," Olivia said. He already did, Sarah replied gently. The proposal was submitted to the city council this evening. Given the emergency circumstances and the fact that it's fully funded by private donation, approval is expected within 48 hours. Why? Sarah's expression softened. Mr. Cole was very clear about his reasoning. He said no child should have to risk their life getting home from school. And he was particularly adamant that construction begin immediately. Olivia's hands tightened on the folder. There's more, Sarah continued. Cole Development is also funding a community center in the Riverside District, after-school programs, child care services, job training. We'll be hiring local staff and working with existing community organizations. She paused. Mr. Cole specifically requested that child care be affordable. Actually, his exact words were, free for families who need it. The folder slipped from Olivia's hands. Sarah caught it smoothly and handed it back. All the information is in there. The community center coordinator will be reaching out to local families in the next few days to assess needs and preferences. This is too much, Olivia whispered. Mr. Cole doesn't think so. Sarah's voice was matter of fact. He also wanted me to tell you that this has nothing to do with you personally. These are improvements the community needed, and his company has the resources to provide them. That's all. That's all. As if building a bridge and a community center was just a casual Tuesday for Benjamin Cole. Which, Olivia realized with a sinking feeling, it probably was. There's one more thing, Sarah said, pulling an envelope from her pocket. Mr. Cole wanted you to have this. Olivia took the envelope, her hands shaking. Inside was a simple card with a phone number written in handwriting she recognized immediately. Bold, precise, unmistakably Benjamin's. Below the number, just 2 words. Call me. I don't need to tell you that Mr. Cole doesn't give out his private number often, Sarah said. If you call that number, he'll answer. Anytime, day or night. Olivia couldn't find her voice. Sarah smiled kindly. I'll leave you to review the materials. If you have any questions about the community center, my contact information is in the folder. Have a good evening, Ms. Hayes. She walked back to her car, leaving Olivia standing in the doorway with a folder full of life-changing promises and a phone number that felt like it was burning through the paper. She went back inside and sat at the table, spreading out the documents. Benjamin had thought of everything. The bridge design included accessibility features for wheelchairs and strollers. The community center proposal mentioned partnerships with local schools, libraries, and health clinics. There were job listings for staff positions, all with wages well above minimum. It was comprehensive, professional, exactly what the neighborhood needed. And it was terrifying. Because Olivia knew Benjamin. When he committed to something, he didn't do it halfway. And if he'd decided to help this community, he wouldn't stop until he'd transformed it completely. Which meant he'd be here, overseeing the construction, attending meetings, checking on progress, which meant she couldn't avoid him. Her phone rang, making her jump, the factory, probably asking her to cover someone's shift, but when she looked at the screen, it wasn't the factory. It was the number from the card. Her heart hammered as she stared at it. She could let it go to voicemail. She could block it. She could pretend she'd never received Sarah's visit. But her hand was already moving, answering the call, bringing the phone to her ear. Hello? You got the folder. Benjamin's voice was calm, as if calling past midnight was perfectly normal. Yes. And? And you can't do this. I can, and I am. The proposal's already submitted. Benjamin. Olivia, I need you to listen to me. His voice shifted, becoming more serious. What happened today was preventable. Madison shouldn't have been in that situation. Neither should the dozens of other people who used that bridge. I have the resources to fix it, so I'm fixing it. It's that simple. Nothing with you is ever simple. Fair point. But this is. The bridge is a safety hazard. I'm replacing it. The community needs support services. I'm providing them. This isn't about you. Then why did you send someone to my house at midnight? Silence. Then, because I knew you'd try to refuse help if it came directly from me. And I wanted to make sure you understood that this is happening regardless of whether you approve. Olivia closed her eyes. You're still as stubborn as ever. So are you. You filed complaints about that bridge for 5 years. How do you know that? I have good people. They're thorough. You had me investigated? I had the bridge situation investigated. Your name was on the complaints. He paused. But yes, I looked into your situation. I'm not going to apologize for that. Olivia's free hand clenched on the table. You have no right. I have every right. You disappeared 10 years ago without a word. Now I find you living in a house that's falling apart, working yourself to exhaustion, struggling to keep your children safe. Forgive me if I wanted to understand what happened. What happened is none of your business. Isn't it? His voice was quiet but intense. We were supposed to build something together, Olivia. We had plans. And then one day you were just gone. Don't I deserve to know why? The question hung between them, loaded with 10 years of unanswered hurt. It was a long time ago, Olivia said finally. We were different people. Were we? Because I don't think you've changed that much. You're still fighting for what's right, still putting other people first, still too proud to ask for help even when you desperately need it. And you're still trying to control everything. I'm trying to help. I didn't ask for your help. Your daughter did, when she called me from that bridge. The words hit like a punch. Olivia couldn't breathe. That's not fair, she whispered. No, it's not, but it's true. Benjamin's voice softened. Olivia, I'm not trying to interfere in your life. I'm not trying to take over or fix things you don't want fixed. But I can't pretend I didn't see what I saw today. I can't pretend your daughter wasn't 30 seconds from falling to her death. And I can't pretend I don't care what happens to you. You don't know me anymore. Then let me. The words were simple, devastating. Olivia looked at the folder spread across her table, at the phone number written in his handwriting, at the evidence of exactly how much he still cared despite everything. I can't, she said. Benjamin, I can't do this. Can't or won't? Does it matter? Yes, because can't means you're afraid, and I can work with afraid. I can be patient, give you space, prove that I'm not going anywhere. But won't means you've already decided and there's nothing I can do. He always had been able to read her too well. I have to go, Olivia said. The kids will be up early. Olivia, thank you for the bridge and the community center. The neighborhood needs both, but please don't call me again. She hung up before he could respond, her hands shaking. The phone immediately rang again. Same number. She didn't answer. It rang 4 more times over the next hour. Each time she let it go to voicemail. Each time Benjamin didn't leave a message. Finally, around 2 in the morning, a text came through instead. I respect your boundaries, but I'm not going anywhere. When you're ready to talk, I'll be here. B. Olivia stared at the message until her vision blurred. Then she made herself get up, put the folder away, and try to get at least a few hours of sleep before her shift. But when she closed her eyes, all she could see was Benjamin kneeling in the rain, his arms steadying her daughter, his eyes full of a concern that felt like it could burn right through her defenses. And she knew, with absolute certainty, that everything was about to change, whether she wanted it to or not. The bridge construction began exactly 2 weeks later. Olivia watched from her window as the crews arrived, professional and efficient, transforming the ravine from a gaping wound into a construction site. They worked from dawn until dusk, and true to Benjamin's timeline, the steel framework was up within a week. She didn't see Benjamin himself, though she looked for him more often than she wanted to admit. The community center opened 2 weeks after that, in a renovated building that had been sitting empty for years. Madison came home from school with a flyer, her eyes bright with excitement. Mom, look, they have after-school art classes and homework help. And Ms. Sarah said I can bring Tyler on Fridays because they have a playgroup for little kids. Ms. Sarah. Of course, Benjamin had put his personal assistant in charge of the center. That sounds wonderful, baby, Olivia managed. Can I go, please? It's free, and Ms. Sarah said they provide snacks, and it's only until 5, so you'd still be awake when I get home. Yes, you can go. Madison threw her arms around Olivia's waist. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Olivia held her daughter tight and tried not to think about how easily Benjamin was sliding into their lives, fixing things, providing things, making himself indispensable. She'd been avoiding the community center, but a week later she didn't have a choice. Mrs. Peterson had a family emergency and couldn't watch Tyler. Olivia's shift started in 3 hours and she was out of options. The community center was warm and welcoming when she walked in. Tyler balanced on her hip. Bright colors, comfortable furniture, the sound of children laughing from somewhere deeper in the building. Sarah Mitchell appeared almost immediately, professional and kind. Ms. Hayes, how can I help you? I need childcare, Olivia said, hating how the words felt like surrender. Just for tonight. I have a shift at the factory. Of course. We have evening care available until midnight. Let me get you registered. The process was smooth, efficient, too easy. Within 15 minutes, Tyler was happily playing with blocks in a sunny room while a qualified caregiver supervised, and Olivia had signed forms that didn't ask for any payment. There's no charge? She asked Sarah. Not for families who need it. That was Mr. Cole's specific instruction. Of course it was. Where is he? The question came out before Olivia could stop it. Mr. Cole, I haven't seen him around. Sarah's expression was carefully neutral. He's been busy with other projects, but he receives daily reports on the center's progress. She paused. He asks about you. Olivia's stomach tightened. What do you tell him? That you're doing well. That Madison loves the art classes. That Tyler has adjusted beautifully to the playgroup. Sarah's voice was gentle. He doesn't ask me to spy on you, Ms. Hayes. He just wants to know you're okay. Olivia didn't know what to say to that. She left Tyler at the center and went to work, but she couldn't focus. Her supervisor noticed, asked if she was all right. Olivia lied and said she was fine. But she wasn't fine. Benjamin's presence was everywhere now, even when he wasn't physically there. The bridge, gleaming and safe. The community center, giving Madison opportunities she'd never had before. The childcare, lifting a burden Olivia had been carrying for so long she'd forgotten what it felt like not to worry. He was helping. He was being perfectly respectful, keeping his distance like she'd asked. And somehow that made it worse, because it meant he wasn't just throwing money at a problem. He was actually paying attention, understanding what the community needed, what her family needed, and providing it without demanding anything in return. The Benjamin she'd known 10 years ago had been ambitious and driven, but he'd also been impatient, always pushing, always wanting more. This Benjamin, the one who'd built an empire and learned restraint, who could help without demanding recognition, this Benjamin was dangerous. 3 weeks after the community center opened, Olivia's world fell apart again. She was called into her supervisor's office at the end of her shift. Marcus Webb, the factory manager, was there too, his expression grim. Ms. Hayes, we need to talk about your position, Marcus said without preamble. Olivia's heart sank. Is there a problem? The factory's being sold. New owners are restructuring, bringing in their own management team. He looked genuinely apologetic. Your position is being eliminated. We're letting you go effective immediately. The room tilted. I've worked here for 2 years. My performance reviews have all been excellent. This isn't about performance. It's about restructuring. I'm sorry, Olivia. You'll get 2 weeks severance pay and your benefits will continue through the end of the month. 2 weeks. 2 weeks to find a new job, to figure out how to pay rent, to keep food on the table. She barely remembered leaving the building, collecting her things, walking to her car. Her hands shook so badly she had to try 3 times to get the key in the ignition. She picked up Tyler from the community center in a daze. Sarah took one look at her and asked if she was all right. Olivia lied again, said she was fine, and hurried home. Madison was already there, brought back by the center's shuttle service. She took one look at her mother's face and went quiet. Mom? What's wrong? Nothing, baby. Everything's fine. But everything wasn't fine. Olivia sat at the kitchen table after putting the kids to bed and looked at her bank account, at the bills due, at the rent payment coming up in 2 weeks. The numbers didn't work. Even with the severance, even cutting every possible expense, the numbers didn't work. She could find another job, but factory work was scarce and the other options paid even less. She could pick up 2 part-time jobs, but then who would watch the kids? The community center could help with after-school care, but not full-time, and she couldn't afford a regular sitter. She was going to lose the house. The thought hit her like a physical blow. This house, with its peeling paint and sagging porch, was theirs. Madison had grown up here. Tyler had taken his first steps on this floor, and Olivia was going to lose it. She put her head in her hands and let herself cry for the first time in months. Quiet tears that she couldn't afford but couldn't hold back. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "I heard about the factory. I'm sorry. If you need help, call me. B." Olivia stared at the message. He knew. Of course he knew. Benjamin probably had connections to every business in the city. He'd have heard about the factory sale, would have put the pieces together. And he was offering help. She should refuse. She should delete the message, block the number, figure this out on her own like she'd figured out everything else. But she was so tired, tired of struggling, tired of fighting, tired of being strong when all she wanted was to break down. Her fingers moved before her brain could stop them, dialing the number. He answered on the first ring. Olivia. Just her name, but the way he said it made her throat tight. "You heard?" she said. "Yes. Are you all right?" "No." The admission came out small and broken. "No, I'm not all right." "Tell me what you need." Everything. She needed everything. A job, stability, a way to keep her children safe and fed and housed. She needed help, and she hated that she needed it. And she hated even more that the person offering was the one she'd walked away from. "I don't know," she whispered. "Can I come over?" "It's late." "I don't care. Can I come over?" She should say no. She should hang up, should delete his number, should handle this alone. "Yes," she heard herself say. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. He hung up before she could change her mind. Olivia sat frozen at the table, wondering what she'd just done. 20 minutes to pull herself together, to stop crying, to figure out what to say. Instead, she just sat there, staring at nothing, feeling like the walls of the life she'd built were collapsing around her, just like that bridge. Exactly 19 minutes later, there was a soft knock on her door. Olivia opened it to find Benjamin standing on her porch, wearing jeans and a dark sweater instead of his usual suit. He looked younger like this, more like the person she'd known before. His eyes went to her face, taking in the tears, the exhaustion, the defeat. "Olivia," he said softly. And then, without asking permission, he stepped inside and pulled her into his arms. She should have pushed him away. Should have maintained her distance, her pride, her carefully constructed walls. Instead, she collapsed against his chest and let herself cry in earnest, feeling his arms tighten around her, solid and sure and utterly unbearable in their kindness. "I've got you," he murmured against her hair. "It's going to be okay. I've got you." And for the first time in 10 years, Olivia let herself believe it might be true. Benjamin held Olivia until her crying stopped, until she was breathing steadily against his chest, her hands clutched in his sweater. He'd been trying to give her space, trying to respect her boundaries. But the moment he'd heard about the factory closure, he'd known she wouldn't ask for help. Olivia would rather break than bend, so he'd waited, hoping she'd call, prepared to respect her silence if she didn't. Then his phone had rung and he'd heard her voice, small and defeated in a way that made him want to tear something apart. Now she was pulling back, wiping her eyes, trying to rebuild her composure. "I'm sorry," she said. "I shouldn't have." "Don't." Benjamin's voice was firm. "Don't apologize for being human." She gave a shaky laugh. "I forgot how bossy you are. I prefer decisive." He guided her to the couch, sitting beside her but giving her space. "Talk to me," What's the situation? Olivia took a breath and laid it out. The job loss, the severance that wouldn't cover expenses, the lack of prospects, the fear of losing the house. Benjamin listened without interrupting, his mind already working through solutions. I can help, he said when she finished. I can't take your money. I'm not offering money. I'm offering a job. Olivia looked at him sharply. Benjamin, hear me out. Coal development is expanding. I need someone to oversee community relations for all our projects. Someone who understands what communities actually need, who can bridge the gap between corporate development and local residents. He held her gaze. You'd be perfect for it. That's charity. That's strategy. Olivia, you filed complaints about that bridge for 5 years. You fought the city, you organized your neighbors, you documented everything properly. That's exactly the skill set I need. And frankly, after the Riverside project, I've realized how much we've been missing this perspective. You're creating a position for me. I'm creating a position that should have existed all along, and hiring the person most qualified for it. He leaned forward slightly. You have a degree in economics and urban planning. You've lived in these communities. You understand the challenges. You're smart, organized, and you don't back down from fights. Why wouldn't I hire you? Olivia was quiet, clearly torn. What would it pay? She asked finally. Benjamin named a figure that made her eyes widen. That's too much. That's market rate for a director-level position, which is what this would be. Director? You'd be reporting directly to me, overseeing a team of 3 to start with room to expand. You'd have input on all new development projects from the planning stages. Real influence, Olivia, not just token community meetings. He could see her mind working, wanting to believe but afraid to trust it. Why are you doing this? She asked. Because I need someone in this role and you're the best person for it. That's not what I mean. Benjamin was quiet for a long moment, considering how honest to be. You want the real answer? He said finally. The whole truth? Yes. Because I spent 10 years wondering what happened to you. 10 years thinking about the life we could have had. And then I found you struggling, fighting, barely keeping your head above water, and it made me furious. Not at you, he added quickly, seeing her expression. At the circumstances. At the systems that failed you. At myself for not finding you sooner. You couldn't have known. I could have tried harder. I gave up after a few months. Told myself you'd made your choice. His voice roughened. I let you go, Olivia. And I've regretted it every day since. The words hung between them, raw and honest. Benjamin. Olivia's voice was barely a whisper. I'm not asking you to forgive me for giving up. I'm not asking for a second chance at what we had. I'm just asking you to let me help now. Let me give you the opportunity you should have had 10 years ago, the one you earned but never got because life got in the way. Olivia's eyes were bright with unshed tears. And if I take this job, what do you expect from me? Excellent work, which I know you'll deliver. He held her gaze, nothing else. This is a real job, Olivia. Not a pretense, not charity, not an excuse to control your life. You'll earn every penny of that salary, probably work harder than half my current staff. You're that confident I'll accept? I'm that confident you'll see this is the right choice, for you and your kids. She looked away, her jaw tight. Benjamin waited, letting her think. There's something you should know, she said finally, her voice quiet. About Madison. Benjamin's heart kicked against his ribs. She's not yours, Olivia said, as if reading his thoughts. I know what you've been thinking. I saw it on your face that first day, but the timing's wrong. Madison was born 9 months after I left. I met her father 2 months after us. The relief was sharp, followed immediately by confusion. If Madison wasn't his, why had Olivia looked so terrified when she'd seen him? Okay, he said carefully. Thank you for telling me. I need you to understand something. Olivia turned back to him, her expression fierce. I left because I had to. Not because I didn't care, not because what we had wasn't real. I left because staying would have destroyed both of us. How? Because you had dreams, Benjamin. Big dreams. You were going to build an empire, change industries, make a fortune, and you did it. Her voice cracked slightly. You became exactly who you were supposed to be, and if I'd stayed, if I'd told you... She stopped abruptly. Benjamin went very still. Told me what? Olivia closed her eyes, her hands clenched in her lap. When she spoke again, her voice was barely audible. I was pregnant when I left, not with Madison, before. The world stopped. What? Benjamin's voice came out rough, disbelieving. I was pregnant. 8 weeks. I found out 3 days before I left. Olivia's eyes were still closed, tears sliding down her cheeks. I knew what it would mean if I told you. You would have insisted we keep it, would have given up your plans, would have built a different life. And you would have resented me eventually, would have looked at that child and seen everything you'd sacrificed. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Because I know you, Benjamin. You would have tried to do the right thing. You would have married me, gotten a stable job, given up on your dreams, and it would have killed something in you. She opened her eyes, meeting his gaze. So I left. I was going to have the baby, raise it on my own, let you become who you were meant to be. Benjamin couldn't breathe. Olivia's face crumpled. I lost the baby. 12 weeks. Miscarriage. Her voice broke. By the time it happened, I'd already burned every bridge, already disappeared. And I couldn't come back, couldn't tell you, couldn't face you knowing that I'd left for nothing. The pain in her voice was devastating. Benjamin moved without thinking, pulling her back into his arms, holding her while she cried for a loss 10 years old but clearly still raw. I'm sorry, he said against her hair. God, Olivia, I'm so sorry. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was protecting you. You were protecting me by disappearing, by going through that alone? His arms tightened around her. You should have told me. I would have given up everything. Exactly. She pulled back enough to look at him, her eyes red but clear. And maybe you think you wouldn't have minded, but Benjamin, look at what you've built. Look at what you've accomplished. You've changed industries, created thousands of jobs, made innovations that actually matter. Would you really trade all of that? For you? In a heartbeat. The words were out before he could think better of them, absolute and honest. Olivia stared at him. You can't mean that, she whispered. I've never meant anything more. Benjamin cupped her face in his hands, his thumbs brushing away her tears. You think I don't know what's missing from my life? I have money, success, influence, and I come home every night to an empty penthouse, wondering if this is all there is? Wondering if I traded the only thing that actually mattered for an empire that means nothing without someone to share it with. Benjamin, I would give it all up, he said fiercely. Every dollar, every company, every achievement. I would trade it all for one more chance with you. You don't mean that. You can't, watch me. He kissed her then. A decade of longing and regret and desperate hope poured into the press of his lips against hers. She made a sound against his mouth, half sob, half surrender, and kissed him back with the same fierce intensity. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Benjamin rested his forehead against hers. Take the job, he said quietly. Not because of this, not because of us. Take it because you've earned it, because you'll be brilliant at it, because your kids deserve to see their mother succeed. And let me prove to you that I'm not going anywhere this time. This is crazy, Olivia whispered. We can't just pick up where we left off. You're right, we can't go back. He pulled back enough to meet her eyes. So let's go forward instead, let's build something new. I don't know if I can trust this. Trust you. Then let me earn it. Day by day, choice by choice. Let me show you who I've become and let me learn who you are now. No pressure, no expectations. Just a chance. Olivia searched his face, looking for something. Reassurance, maybe, or proof that this wasn't a mistake. Whatever she found must have been enough because she nodded slowly. Okay, she said. Okay, I'll take the job. But Benjamin, I need you to understand something. I have kids now. They come first, always. If this affects them negatively in any way, it won't. I swear it won't. He meant it. Madison and Tyler are part of you, which means they're part of this too. I'm not asking you to choose between your children and a career. I'm offering you both. That's a big promise. I'm good at keeping promises. Olivia managed a watery smile. You always were. They sat together on the couch, Olivia leaning against his shoulder, both of them processing the revelations of the past hour. I should go, Benjamin said eventually, though he made no move to leave. It's late. Stay, Olivia said quietly. Just a little longer. So he stayed, holding her in the small house with the blue door, feeling like pieces of himself he'd thought were lost forever were finally clicking back into place. Outside, the new bridge gleamed under streetlights, solid and safe. Inside, something equally important was being built, foundation by careful foundation, a second chance neither of them had thought they'd get. 3 months later, Olivia stood in her new office, looking out over the city. It was smaller than Benjamin's corner office, but still impressive, with floor-to-ceiling windows and enough space for the team she was building. Her team, Director of Community Relations with real authority and a real budget to make changes. It still felt surreal. She'd started the job 6 weeks ago, after giving notice to the factory that had already fired her. Benjamin had handled the logistics smoothly, arranging for a childcare stipend, flexible hours that worked around the kids' schedules, and an office close to Madison's new school. The work was challenging. Olivia was overseeing 3 development projects, each one requiring careful coordination between coal development and the local communities. But it was also deeply satisfying. For the first time in years, she was using her education, her skills, her mind for something that actually mattered. And Benjamin had been true to his word. At work, he treated her like any other director, professional and respectful. He didn't hover, didn't micromanage, didn't let their personal history interfere with business. Outside of work, though. Outside of work, he was courting her. There was no other word for it. Benjamin Cole, CEO and millionaire, was courting her with the same focused intensity he brought to everything else. He brought her coffee in the mornings, always exactly how she liked it. He remembered details from conversations and followed up days later. He sent her articles he thought she'd find interesting, asked her opinion on matters that had nothing to do with work, showed up at the community center to help with after-school programs. And he was wonderful with Madison and Tyler. That was the part that undid her the most. Watching Benjamin sit on the floor with Tyler, building block towers and making the little boy giggle. Seeing him at Madison's art show, asking serious questions about her paintings, treating her like her opinions mattered. He wasn't trying to replace their father. He was just there, steady, reliable, genuinely interested. Madison adored him. Tyler lit up whenever Benjamin walked in the room, and Olivia was falling in love with him all over again. No, that wasn't quite right. She'd never stopped loving him. She'd just buried it deep, convinced herself it was over, learned to live without him. Now he was back and the feelings were stronger than ever, complicated by time and loss and the people they'd both become. Her phone buzzed. A text from Benjamin. Dinner tonight, my place, I'm cooking, Olivia smiled. Benjamin couldn't cook to save his life, which meant he'd hired someone or ordered from an expensive restaurant and was pretending. What time? 6. Bring the kids. Of course, he always included the kids. That evening, Olivia drove to Benjamin's penthouse. Madison chattering excitedly in the back seat about a new drawing she wanted to show him. Tyler babbling along in his car seat. The penthouse was as impressive as Olivia had expected. Sleek, modern, with art that probably cost more than her annual salary. But Benjamin had also set up a play area in the corner of the living room, stocked with toys and books. Madison, Tyler, look who's here, Benjamin said, greeting them at the door. He scooped Tyler up, making him laugh, then gave Madison a high five. I heard you won the art contest at school. Congratulations. Madison beamed. Thank you. I brought my drawing to show you. Perfect, let's see it. He set Tyler down in the play area and gave Madison his full attention while she explained her artwork. Olivia watched from the doorway, her heart doing complicated things in her chest. Dinner was catered as she'd suspected, but delicious. But they ate at the dining table, Madison telling stories about school, Tyler making a mess with his food, Benjamin listening to all of it with genuine interest. After dinner, Madison and Tyler settled in front of a movie while Benjamin and Olivia cleaned up in the kitchen. "You're good with them," Olivia said quietly. "They're great kids, easy to be good with. Not every man would want to deal with someone else's children." Benjamin looked at her seriously. "They're your children. That makes them important to me." He said it so simply, like it was obvious. Olivia's throat tightened. "Benjamin, I know we're taking this slow," he said, setting down the dish he'd been drying. "I know you need time to trust this, to trust me. But Olivia, I need you to understand something. I'm all in. Not just with you, but with Madison and Tyler too. This isn't casual for me. It never could be. It's only been 3 months. It's been 10 years, he countered. We just had a long interruption in the middle." She couldn't argue with that. Benjamin stepped closer, his hand coming up to cup her cheek. "I love you. I've loved you since we were 22 years old, and I never stopped. And if you need me to wait another 10 years to prove it, I will. But I need you to know that's where this is heading for me. You, me, those 2 incredible kids in there, a family." Olivia's eyes filled with tears. "I'm scared. I know. What if it falls apart again? It won't, because we're different people now. We've both been through hell, both learned hard lessons, and this time, we're not kids planning a fantasy future. We're adults building something real." His thumb brushed away a tear. "Trust me, Olivia, please." She looked into his eyes, seeing only honesty and determination, and a love so fierce it took her breath away. "I do," she whispered. "I trust you." Benjamin's expression transformed, joy and relief flooding his features. He kissed her softly, reverently, like she was something precious. "Mom?" Madison's voice interrupted. "Mr. Benjamin?" Tyler fell asleep. They broke apart, both smiling. In the living room, Tyler was indeed conked out on the couch, thumb in his mouth. "I should get them home," Olivia said. "Stay," Benjamin said. "I have guest rooms. You can put them to bed here and we can talk. Really talk." Olivia hesitated, then nodded. They got the kids settled, Madison in one guest room with a bed big enough for her to sprawl in, Tyler in a crib that Benjamin had somehow acquired and set up. "When did you get a crib?" Olivia asked. 2 weeks ago. I wanted to be prepared." He looked almost embarrassed. "I may have bought a lot of kid stuff recently." Olivia laughed, the sound surprising her. "You're ridiculous. I'm prepared. There's a difference." They settled on the couch, Olivia tucked against Benjamin's side, finally alone. "Tell me everything," he said. "Everything that happened after you left." So she did. The whole story. From the pregnancy to the miscarriage, from Madison's father to Marcus Harper, from struggling job to struggling job, trying to build a life for her kids. Benjamin listened to all of it, his arm tightening around her when the story got painful, his jaw clenching when she described the worst parts. "You went through all of that alone," he said when she finished. "I had to." "No, you didn't. You chose to." He shifted to look at her. "I'm not saying that to make you feel guilty. I'm saying it because I need you to understand that you don't have to make that choice anymore. You're not alone. You have me now for whatever you need. I'm not used to depending on anyone. I know, so we'll take it slow. Let me in bit by bit until it feels natural." He kissed her forehead. "I'm patient." "Since when?" Olivia teased gently. "Since I realized what I'd lost 10 years ago. I'm not losing you again, Olivia. Not to pride, not to fear, not to anything, whatever it takes," she believed him. Over the next few months, they built a life together, piece by careful piece. Benjamin was there for dinner twice a week, helped with homework, came to school events. He introduced Olivia to his business associates as his partner, making it clear she was both professionally respected and personally important to him. His mother, Catherine, was predictably horrified when she found out Benjamin was dating a single mother who worked for his company. "This is completely inappropriate," she'd said at their first meeting. "What will people think?" "That I'm lucky," Benjamin had replied calmly. "Anything else?" Catherine had tried other tactics, from introducing him to more suitable women to threatening to cut him off financially. Benjamin had ignored all of it. "I'm 33 years old and a self-made billionaire," he'd told Olivia after one particularly difficult confrontation. "She can't actually do anything to stop me, and eventually she'll either accept this or not. That's her choice." His certainty was absolute, unshakable. 6 months after that first dinner at his penthouse, Benjamin proposed. He did it at the new bridge, the one he'd built to replace the collapsed structure. It was a beautiful spring evening, the sun setting over the ravine, the bridge gleaming in the golden light. Madison and Tyler were there, both in on the plan. Madison held Tyler's hand as Benjamin knelt in front of Olivia, a ring box in his hands. "10 years ago I let you go," he said. "It was the biggest mistake of my life. I'm not making that mistake again. Olivia Hayes, you are brilliant, fierce, compassionate, and the strongest person I know. You made me better then, and you make me better now. I love you. I love your kids. I love the family we're building together. Will you marry me?" Olivia couldn't speak through her tears. She just nodded over and over, until Benjamin stood and pulled her into his arms. Madison cheered. Tyler clapped, not understanding but excited anyway. And somewhere in the city behind them, Catherine Cole received a phone call from her son, informing her that he was engaged and she could either be happy about it or miss the wedding. The wedding was small, intimate, just family and close friends. Sarah Mitchell was Olivia's maid of honor. James and Connor stood up as Benjamin's groomsmen. Madison was the flower girl, taking her duties very seriously. Tyler toddled down the aisle ahead of Olivia, held carefully by one of Benjamin's cousins. Catherine came, though she spent most of the ceremony looking like she'd swallowed something sour. But when Benjamin and Olivia exchanged vows, promising to love and support each other through whatever came, even Catherine seemed touched. Or maybe that was wishful thinking. Either way, Olivia didn't care. She was marrying Benjamin Cole, the man she'd loved and lost and found again, the man who'd saved her daughter from a collapsing bridge and then saved her whole family in the months that followed. They honeymooned in Italy, 2 weeks of art and food and time alone. Olivia's mother watched the kids finally having come around after meeting Benjamin and realizing he was serious about this. When they returned, they moved into a new house together. Not Benjamin's penthouse, which was too impersonal, and not Olivia's small rental, which was too cramped. Instead, they found a place that was theirs, with a yard for the kids and enough space for a real family. Olivia continued her work at Cole Development, now overseeing community relations for every project the company took on. Her team had grown to 12 people, and she'd implemented changes that had become company policy. Benjamin consulted her on every major decision, valuing her perspective. At home, they built routines, family dinners, movie nights, weekend adventures. Benjamin taught Madison to play chess and Tyler to throw a baseball. Olivia and Benjamin took cooking classes together, laughing through their mistakes. It wasn't perfect. They argued sometimes, both too stubborn for their own good. Catherine remained difficult, though she softened slightly when Madison started calling Benjamin Dad, and he looked like he might cry from joy. But it was real, solid, built on honesty and second chances and the determination to make it work. 2 years after the wedding, Olivia found out she was pregnant. She told Benjamin on the anniversary of the day they'd met, in the same Italian restaurant where they'd had their first date as 20-year-old students. He stared at her, speechless, then pulled her into his arms so tightly she could barely breathe. "I love you," he whispered against her hair. "God, Olivia, I love you so much." Their daughter was born the following spring. They named her Grace after Benjamin's grandmother, who had passed away years before. Madison doted on her baby sister. Tyler, now 3 1/2, was fascinated by the tiny human. Benjamin was completely smitten, waking up for middle-of-the-night feedings and changing diapers without complaint. Olivia watched him with their daughter and thought about the choice she'd made 10 years ago, the baby she'd lost, the years they'd spent apart. She couldn't regret it, not entirely, because that path, painful as it was, had led them here, to this family, this life, this second chance that felt like grace itself. The bridge stood solid and safe, connecting the neighborhoods that had been divided. The community center thrived, providing services to hundreds of families. Cole Development had become known for its community-focused approach, a reputation that attracted both business and praise. And in a house filled with laughter and love, Benjamin and Olivia built the life they'd once dreamed of, better for having been tested, stronger for having been rebuilt. Sometimes the greatest rescue isn't the one you plan. Sometimes it's the one that saves you both. The end.